Hello friends, it's your girl Alina back for another video, and in this one we'll be diving into the 5 things you need to know all around this upcoming September 2022 new moon in the diplomatic air sign of Libra. In this video, we'll talk all things Libra, why this can be a beautiful time for connection, relationships, potential reconciliation, clarity around our interactions with one another, and a lot more. We'll also dive into the top transits surrounding this new moon, along with custom new moon writing prompts to help us align with this energy. And before we dive in, for any of y'all interested in learning more about the 2023 Auralign Astrology Planner line and collection, which I'm so excited to announce the contents of the collection, maybe y'all can guess in the comment section below. If you're interested in being the first to know as soon as we drop the new collection, be sure to sign up for our email list, which I will link in the video description and the comment section. And if you haven't already, be sure to follow our TikTok account and Instagram, because I'm going to be posting different updates and things, some hints to see what y'all can guess. But with all of that said, let's dive in. Why is this new moon important? Well, first off, as many of y'all already know, the new moon marks the beginning of a new lunar cycle, where the moon looks essentially dark in the sky. We can't see it because we don't see the sun's light being reflected off of it, but it is from that darkest point at the new moon that the light begins to build, leading all the way up to the lunar cycle's midway point at the full moon, and then the light begins to wane. And this is why we see many people doing new moon rituals, where they reflect on the previous cycle, what worked, what didn't work for them, they celebrate their wins, and they look forward to the future, open to pivoting, potentially changing pre-existing intentions and how they're going towards them, or starting brand new ones. And they write these things out, and then as we see the light build in the sky leading up to the full moon at its peak light, so too can the momentum around the intentions that we set during the new moon build. The new moon in general is seen as a time more so of rest, reflection, and not necessarily being all in action if we don't feel called to do so, but more so planning how we will be in action in the coming lunar cycle. Now, more specifically, Libra new moons offer us a lot of energetic support when it comes to community, relationships, building connections in terms of collaboration, even reconciliation. We also can feel called, Libra is an air sign. It's all about information exchange as well. We can feel called for intellectual exchange, learning new things, researching new things, looking at new perspectives of things that we might have been approaching. And Libra really is a sign represented by the balancing of the scales, the balancing of good and evil, light and dark, and really finding that duality. Under Libra new moons, it can be common to enter into new relationships, new partnerships, new interactions, also having some type of paradigm shift or a new approach to pre-existing relationships. Libra new moons can be a powerful time for being more diplomatic when it comes to negotiating things, when it comes to reconciliation, communicating to better understand one another's points. And with not only this new moon being in Libra, but we also see the sun and Venus entering the sign of Libra close to the time of the new moon. We're definitely getting strong energetic support when it comes to working things out, restructuring or changing our perspective of things, reorienting the way that we collaborate and changing up our dynamics with one another, recalibrating for the better, and having a new fresh start moving forward. So this is a beautiful time for, if there were any dynamics, whether that's in loving relationships, interpersonal relationships, friendships, business arrangements, acquaintances, any sort of dynamics that felt off balance, now can be a powerful time to potentially try and work with one another or express your inner world that being controlled by or impacted by the lunar cycles, to really get that out in the open air to see what can come of it in a diplomatic and constructive way. Next up, let's talk about the transits that impact this new moon. First up, we see Venus trining Pluto. Now, as some of y'all already know, a trine aspect in astrology indicates very easy flowing and even lucky energy between the astral bodies involved. So with a transit like this, we can notice ourselves or others feeling more empowered, more driven to really work on and assert our perspectives and collaborate in interpersonal and more professional relationships. This is the type of transit that we can often see a clearing of blockages when it comes to certain dynamics as well. So we can often feel emboldened in that sense. Many will find it a lot easier to speak their truth and really recalibrate or reflect upon their current or pre-existing relationship dynamics. For some, that can show up as a dose of self-awareness, of having a mirror put in front of you and realizing, oh, okay, this is the part that I played in this situation, and not just being, well, everybody else needs to fix things and everybody else needs to do things. Or vice versa, realizing maybe it's the other way around, of constantly internalizing situations and thinking that it all has to do with you, and realizing, oh, okay, let me take away the responsibility of worrying about other people's emotions and focus on getting to the point, or focus on what is in my best interest in terms of self-preservation and speaking up for oneself. And we see this type of dynamic because in this transit, we see Venus, the planet of love, relationships, and connections, trining, having this easy flowing energy between Pluto, the planet of power, change, and transformation. And so again, we're seeing this meshing, this coming together in terms of empowerment and our relationship dynamic. Next up, at the time of the new moon, we see Mars trining Saturn. Now, as mentioned before, a trine aspect indicates easy flowing and sometimes lucky energy between the astral bodies involved. We don't see any blockages or friction between them, and it really allows for oftentimes positive interactions or outcomes, very supportive energy to come out for us. Now, when we see a transit like this, we can often experience in ourselves or in others an uptick in perseverance, in ambition, and wanting to take on more challenging tasks. Now, this self-discipline and inner strength that we might experience an uptick in can often be in relation to rising to the occasion of something, finally kind of almost like growing up, or seeing something that we really want and saying, oh, okay, I need to kind of change up what I'm doing to be able to access that. And maybe for some of us, we have, procrastinated on these things, or maybe out of fear avoided it or didn't even try, And this is a type of transit during this new moon where we can often feel called to actually persevere, actually push through it, actually ask the right questions, seek help to push through, whether that's more mental blockages of limiting beliefs, of whether or not you can and can't do it, of, oh my gosh, I'm gonna fail anyway, pushing through that, or pushing through actual blockages, whether that's people are in the way, challenges, and looking for more creative means to get to where you'd like to go. An analogy that I love is be like water. If you think about water going down a hill, getting to the point that it needs to get to, or going down a river into the ocean, it goes around the rocks, right? It's not trying to break through the rocks. Sometimes over time it erodes it, right? Because it's so persistent, but it's going around them. It's looking for its own unique path. It's not trying to be a rock breaking another rock. It's not trying to be the wind flying over the rock, right? It is just going through it in its own way. And I don't know, I feel called to remind y'all the power of finding your lane, finding what your strengths are and leaning into those things rather than trying to be something that you're not, or being avoidant of finally embodying who you are. And finally, we see Saturn squaring off with Uranus. Now, a square aspect in astrology often indicates amplified levels of challenges or friction between the astral bodies involved in the areas of our lives that they impact. But it is this friction that can often be a catalyst, or the inspiration or the fire under our asses that we need to kind of take action to handle these things. Now, when we see a transit like this between Saturn and Uranus, we can often see heightened levels of challenges or setbacks that can feel restrictive. Sometimes we might notice that when we're trying to pivot, there are more blockages or roadblocks in the way that we were expecting. And this is the type of transit that I feel like on one end of the spectrum, especially with this being a new moon, it's a time of rest and reflection, of processing what's around us to better calibrate what we want to do in the coming lunar cycle. When we get a transit like this Saturn squaring off with Uranus, it can be helpful to just wait it out. If we're like, I'm noticing resistance when I'm trying to go forward with something, it can be helpful to just wait it out and observe what that resistance is, where it's coming from, and how we can avoid it in the future or improve upon how we approach things. But another aspect to this, another perspective of this, is that this could be a catalyst of you kind of breaking that glass ceiling, you kind of breaking through even potential generational curses or perspectives, psychological perspectives of things, and finally getting past it, where it feels so different and uncomfortable to finally get out of your comfort zone. And that's kind of the restriction that we're feeling. Now, I'm saying all of this because, as many of y'all already know, Saturn is the planet of maturity, restriction, and responsibility. And it's squaring off, it's having some more challenges, some more kind of pushback with Uranus, the planet of transformation, revolution, disruption of our lives, disruption of the status quo, and change. And so we're seeing this transit where it's really impacting us needing to grow up, and also there being a lot of change in our lives and that coming together. And so when we see this type of transit, we can often see things come up really almost like a mirror being put in our face, like, are you ready to grow up? Are you ready to level up and stop having this be a problem? What do you want to kind of do? Like, are you ready to finally face this person or this situation that you need to handle that you've been scared of doing? Are you finally ready to face yourself and finally ask for help to kind of move beyond something that's going on? You know, this is the type of energy that this transit can bring. But what is good is that we see a lot of other supportive transits around it. We see Venus trining with Pluto, all about relationships, transformation, growing into our own and who we are. We see this new moon in the sign of Libra, bringing a lot of energy of diplomacy and balance into our lives, making it a lot easier to see what that could be in our lives. So though we have this challenge, I think it will mainly be a catalyst towards growth. All right, next up, let's dive into ways to align with this energy. So some tips for this new moon, some things that you might want to focus on or reflect upon. One of them includes relationship dynamics. As mentioned before, Libra is all about relationships. A lot of times I feel like in pop culture, Libra is deemed as the socialite, like the social butterfly kind of. And while there are many Libras who are like that, I have a lot of Libra friends and I feel like a lot of them are not necessarily super extroverted, but they are very socially intelligent, very emotionally intelligent, and they utilize that and they just easily flex that muscle when it comes to relationship dynamics, setting their boundaries and communicating things. And I think that during this new moon, we can really embody that by reflecting on aspects of your relationship dynamics. What do you enjoy about your relationship dynamics with your friends, your family, even your coworkers or acquaintances? What are you most proud of your growth when it comes to relationship dynamics? And on the flip side, what are some things that you might want to grow into in relation to relationship dynamics? What are some things you'd like to improve upon or maybe learn more about? Maybe not necessarily working on yourself, but maybe some things that you would like to maybe ask somebody more questions about, clarifying questions about your relationship dynamics, or how to move about and navigate that smoothly. For a new moon ritual specifically, it can be very potent to set intentions around the things that you absolutely love and appreciate about your relationships. Really setting intentions to have that expand further into your life. As well, if you have any relationships that you might feel are broken or that you would like to reconcile or work through or better process or understand, this new moon can also be a beautiful time for setting intentions, writing out a wish, a dream, a prayer for that to have some healing, to kind of set that intention and allow the momentum around it to build as we go into this new lunar cycle. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and dive into these new moon writing prompts. What I'll do is I will put the questions up on the screen. When you see them, I invite you to pause the video, write them out, and when you're done, we'll come back. And if you have your 2022 Auralign Astrology Planner, you can go ahead and flip on over to the dedicated new moon ritual page for the month of September to write all these questions out. And if you're interested in learning more about the upcoming 2023 line, being the first to know as soon as we drop the line, which is expanded, a bunch of improvements added to the astrology planner, go ahead and go to the link in the description or on the screen. But with that said, let's go ahead and get into these questions. Moving into this new lunar cycle, do you have any new intentions or goals? In what ways does community play a role in your life? When was the last time you spoke an uncomfortable truth? What did you learn from the experience? How has empathy played a role in conflict resolution? All right, y'all, I hope that you enjoyed those writing prompts. And if you did, or if it sparked anything in particular for you and you feel called to share, be sure to comment it down below so we can start a conversation. With all of that said, if you made it to the end, I invite you to comment 3-star emojis to let me know that you made it to the end. But with all of that said, I will leave you with my favorite quote, and that is, be gentle with yourself, because life is about the journey, not the destination. All right, peace. Bye.